Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct today from Black Facts Headquarters Central here in Kent, Ohio. Another day, another time to holler. We just trying to help keep you from having to live in squalor right over here in Kent, Ohio. So we're going to continue on today. We're finishing up with our first piece during our Juneteenth month, because we're celebrating Juneteenth all month this year. Yes, we're not celebrating freedom, we're celebrating liberation. Keep in mind, they're two different things: freedom, liberation. Because see, I don't want to be free, I want to be paid. Think about that for a minute. Yeah, do you really want to be free? You don't want to give your goods away for free, I'll tell you that much. So let's go ahead and set this thing up properly. First and foremost, you know what we need you to do? Go ahead, give us a like on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And then spread the word far and wide with your friends, your family, your relatives, your enemies, and anybody else you see of where they need to come so they can see me. At any time, no, not at any time, at noon and 9 EST. That's Eastern Standard Time. You'll find Doc Ock here on the set, putting it down. So let me see. So today we got a proverb for you today. Let's see what we got today. Come up with a good one. Oh, wow. Here's one of my favorite proverbs. Children are the reward of life. Now, we've heard that one for a long time, but I never knew that it actually came from the Congo. Children are the reward of life. And that is a fact. Children are the reward of life. What better reward could you have for having lived a good life than to have some children? All right, now, we're going to finish up with our story out of the Black World magazine about Uganda and the Asian Expulsion. And we're reading about this at this time because it has a, if you want to call it, you could call it an indirect relationship. I see it as being a little bit more direct relationship between Juneteenth and this Asian expulsion. The reason being that the same kind of situations we were dealing with over here, our brothers and sisters were dealing with on the continent. And as a matter of fact, they didn't even get their quote-unquote independence or freedom until 100 years after the so-called Emancipation Proclamation went down over here. So that's just something to keep in mind, that once we were so-called freed, by that time they were putting in place plans to enslave our brothers and sisters on the continent, because they had removed so many of us. We don't even know how many. Some people say 12 million. That's a very small number. Some people say up to 300 million. That's a little bit larger. Which number is most accurate? I can't say. But I know that the large numbers of people that were removed from the continent of Africa had an impact on our ability to defend ourselves, to fend off the machinations of those who did not have our best interest at heart. In other words, the slavers and all of their minions. So let's go ahead and finish this piece up, and maybe we'll do one extra piece today. Maybe this will be a two-piece day. We'll see. We did two pieces last night. We're not usually able to read that many, but last night we did. So let's see. And what keeps happening to my daggone bookmarks? I will never know. Okay. Okay, right. Here's where we left off at. Okay, and I'm gonna put this, stick this bookmark in here and see. And I got one here. Let me use this one here. Oops. These are sticky bookmarks. All right, I'm gonna put this one here at least so I know where we started at today. There we go. Now, all right. So, let me go ahead and get our slideshow going today. Boom. It's a nice colorized picture for you there. You know, originally that one was not in color, but it is now. If you can't see the images, that's because you're looking on Facebook. If you go to YouTube, you'll be able to see all the images. You'll be able to get the full mileage, the full experience. And I suggest that you do that. When you get to YouTube, go ahead and subscribe while you're there so you always know when we're on the air. Okay, who has responsibility over the Asians? Definitely, Uganda has responsibility over the Asians, or over those Asians who are citizens of Uganda. Whatever may be the fault of these Asians, the government of Uganda should deal with them in the same manner that it deals with African citizens. Any attempt by the government to harass them in any form should be rejected, not only by outsiders, but by Africans themselves. Britain, on the other hand, should take the responsibility for those Asians holding British passports. After all, the whole affair is the creation of Britain through her colonial policy. It does not help the Asians in any way for Britain to go all over the world, the UN, etc., condemning General Idi Amin. If Britain seriously believes that Uganda will suffer the loss of these experts, why she should welcome these so-called experts, these Asians, with open arms, since they are citizens of Britain. These Asians are not destitutes, they're experts. Doctors, lawyers, nurses, teachers, etc. Is Britain saying it does not need this type of expertise? Is that what they're saying? India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh should also take responsibility for those Asians with their passports. If there could be cooperation among these countries, Britain, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Uganda, the interest of these Asians would be highly served. The sooner they get to their destination, the better. It is, in fact, a good sign to note that all 5 countries have accepted their responsibility. Therefore, the question of stateless Asians does not arise. If it is true that the Uganda government has withdrawn citizenships, then international pressure should be brought to bear so that the situation is rectified. Property and time limit. None should question the right of a sovereign state like Uganda to say who should and who should not live within her borders. The 90-day limit that was imposed was criticized as too short. There is no guarantee, however, that extension of time would have made much difference. If General Amin had been taken seriously, evacuation would have started immediately. Instead, valuable time was wasted in condemning Amin and his government. Since we are told all these Asians are wealthy, then they should be able to pay their way out. Indeed, some already have, though they were not obliged to do so. As far as property is concerned, solutions could have been found. First of all, not all 50,000 or so Asians have property, like 10-story buildings, farms, sugar factories, textile mills, etc. Only a handful own these. One way to solve the problem would be to nationalize these enterprises and pay compensation where it is due. But if the owners have realized their capital and were now amassing profits, then the compensation rate should be very low. The high commissioners, ambassadors of Britain, India, and Pakistan could act as representatives of the property owners. Other properties like cars, furniture, sewing machines, etc. could be sold, or the Asians could carry some property with them. These are questions which I believe could have been negotiated between Uganda and the high commissioners. It does not pay to call General Amin a dictator, a paranoid, a butcher, etc. This only strengthens his desire to see these people leave soon. One other note on property. Humane feelings towards the Asians should not blind us to the fact that these Asians, as immigrants, owned no sugar factories, textile factories, apartment buildings, cars, etc. They derived all this from exploitation of Africans. Why should an African government continue to let her resources be exploited by foreigners? It has been suggested that the only people who will benefit out of all this affair are the few people around General Amin. That may be so. If that is what is going to happen, then it's up to the Africans themselves to find a solution. Conclusion. The Uganda-Asian affair has demonstrated once again that a foreigner who enjoys economic affluence in the host country will keep his status only if he does two things. First, he must identify himself with that country. That is, his loyalty must be to that country. That is, he should use that economic affluence for the benefit of the country from which he makes his money, not for any other country. It also demonstrates that the decolonized countries are beginning to question their open hospitality. It is this hospitality that got them into the grip of colonialism in the first place. And if they are not careful, it is going to throw them into the waiting hands of neo-colonialism. The steps General Amin has taken, despite the inconvenience to the departing Asians, were long overdue. When all has been said, the Asians placed themselves in a precarious position, and they became easy targets for those who are seeking easy solutions for complex problems. The economic problems of Uganda, or for that matter, of any country in East Africa, are not the result alone of Asian economic activities. They are caused by two principal factors. Number one, bad economic plans resulting from the so-called foreign experts. And number two, unfair trade relations between Uganda, a raw material producing country, and industrialized country, in other words, the finished goods producing countries. Until these two factors are altered, there will be problems with the Ugandan economy or with the economy of any other similarly situated African country. Addendum. By this time, January of 1973, all Asians ordered to leave Uganda have gone. The Uganda government has taken other economic measures following their departure. Some of the Asian businesses, shops, hotels, transportation, etc., are now being run by the government, and others have been sold to Africans. Large firms are being run by the government. In addition, the government has taken over most foreign-owned businesses, including those by Britain and the USA. Furthermore, the government has announced that it will not renew licenses of foreign businesses as they expire. The expiration date is usually December 31st. Technical officials, mainly from Britain, such as college teachers and doctors, have been asked to leave. General Amin believes that Britain would sabotage his country's economy if many of her citizens remain there. In December 1972, government officials from Uganda visited the USA and some European countries to recruit college teachers. This advice, according to Ugandan embassy sources in Washington, D.C., is due to the expulsion and voluntary departure of British technical experts. So, this article, by the way, was written by Zuberi I. Mwamba, who's earned degrees from American universities, including his PhD from Howard, where he also taught for 4 years. He now heads the, at this time when he wrote the article, he headed the African Studies program at Texas Southern University. So this person knew whereof he spoke. Oh, and what does it say? He received his early education in Tanzania. So the situation that existed in Uganda existed in Tanzania to a large extent, and it also existed in Kenya. So whatever you saw happening in one place, you could go to the other place and see basically the same setup, the same scenario. Matter of fact, Madhavani, who owned much of the industry, the large industry at the time, cotton, tea, coffee production, etc. He was, they had operations going in all 3 countries, all throughout East Africa. Today, they're back because they were invited back by one of the more recent presidents of Uganda, President Museveni. He invited them to come back. And when he invited them to come back, he didn't invite them to just come back and start over again. He invited them to come back and then offer them economic incentives to come back. Tax breaks, grant money, etc., etc., etc. The question is, where were those tax breaks and grant money when the Africans themselves were attempting to, what's the word for it? When the nationalization process was going on, where were those tax breaks and incentives then? So we can see there Africa has some issues, but we can also see that we had some of the very same issues that they had. The pictures that you saw in the slideshow of people picking cotton, I mixed them together. So in some instances, you couldn't tell whether you were looking at pictures of people picking cotton in Uganda or cotton pickers in Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi or one of these other southern states over here. Very difficult to tell. It's amazing how similar our situations are. We often think of our African brothers and sisters as being in an entirely different situation because they're still living in Africa. However, the need for these, what do they call them? Vulture capitalists to acquire more and more and more and more goods and resources is never ending. And so if they can't get what they want here in America, they will go to another country. And that's exactly what they've done. They've exported what the situation that we had here back in the 1860s, they've exported that all over the planet. And so when we deal with Juneteenth, Juneteenth is more than about just a day of celebrating quote unquote freedom from our enslavement here in America. Juneteenth is about doing some recollecting, reassessment, and introspection of ourselves and our situation and the situation of those who are related to us. In other words, our African brothers and sisters. It's much bigger than what it appears on the surface. So we need to go ahead and expand on the idea of Juneteenth from just being focused on one little situation here, something that happened in Galveston, Texas, to a more global or international perspective. Juneteenth is bigger than what it appears. So if you're looking in your rear view mirror, just remember, Juneteenth is bigger than it may appear. Well, that's all for today. We're going to go ahead and clock out right about now. We hope you've gained without a whole lot of pain. We hope that you have, this has expanded your perspective in one way or another, and that you continue to spread the word. Our feed dropped on Facebook today. We don't know what happened there. Something went down. And so if you were looking on Facebook and the feed dropped out, we didn't have, that was beyond our control. We couldn't do anything about it at the time. So what we're going to do is we will be sharing our YouTube live stream momentarily. So look for that on Facebook, and you can also, of course, find it on YouTube every single day. In the meanwhile, this is Doc Ock signing off. You know, we have our shows at noon and 9, so look for us again in the evening. You know that if you haven't already given us a like, now's the time. Well, if you're on Facebook, obviously, maybe too late. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, and then become a sustaining member of the Black Facts family by going to our website, blakfacts.org, making a donation right up there. There's a link top of the page. If you want, you can also donate right on Facebook. Below every live stream is a donation button. You can also, if you're on your mobile, your phone, then you need to go to your Facebook notifications to find the same link. And you may be able to find it by clicking our profile page. Our profile image. There may be a link there as well. If you see some coins next to our face, then that's a live link to donate. All right, so you got a few different ways to support Black Facts. We hope that you find what we're doing worthwhile, because we put a lot of time and effort into it, and we're going to continue to do so through the rest of the year without fear. Peace out without a doubt. We'll be black tonight at 9.